Hello everyone, Grandpa Ron here again with another of our very basic Bible studies. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 35 of Genesis, and since it's very basic, I'm just going to hit the high spots, but this is really, like all of these chapters so far, really chock full of information, but we'll try to live up to keeping it basic. Okay, so you remember last time in chapter 34, Jacob's brothers had massacred the men of Shechem because they had violated their sister Dinah. They had deceived them and tricked them and went in and murdered them all. And at the end, we saw that Jacob was upset, although he hadn't really taken any action to alleviate this or to avoid it. But he was frightened, scared, I'll just read the verse 30 of chapter 34. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me odious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and my men being few in number, they will gather together against me and attack me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my household." So, no mention of God here, that they had brought, what was the word he used here? Made me odious among the inhabitants. Well, what about your God? They've made God odious. Your Jacob and his family are supposed to be a testimony to the greatness and righteousness and grace of God, and they do such a thing like this. So it did leave a stench in the nostrils of the people around them. And we see this on-again, off-again relationship between Jacob and God. We've seen several times where he didn't trust God, but God bailed him out. He turned his trust to God, and then as time went by, he forgot about God, put God on the back burner. Something else bad would happen. God would bail him out of that. And now we have a situation where he's probably pretty desperate, because I imagine he is very frightened of what these other tribes in the area might do. So he's in the pits. He's in despair. So let's see what happens in chapter 35. Verse 1. Then God said to Jacob, "Arise and go up to Bethel and live there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." He's reminding him, that God has helped him all this time. He says, go back to Bethel. Verse 2. So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods which are among you, and purify yourselves, and change your garments. And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me wherever I have gone." So it appears that Jacob has turned back to relying on the Lord, and he has no other choice. He doesn't know what to do, so he's going to rely on the Lord to take care of him, and he's going to obey the Lord. And part of what he's going to do is clean up his household. Surely he's known that he had family and clansmen that were worshiping other gods and had done nothing. But this incident, I guess, has triggered him to clean up his act and get right with God. Verse 4. So they gave to Jacob all the foreign gods which they had, and the rings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak which was near Shechem. I don't know why he hit them, why he didn't just destroy them, melt them down or something, but anyway, he hid them under the oak which was near Shechem. Verse 5. As they journeyed, there was a great terror upon the cities which were around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. There would be a natural terror because they had just murdered all the males in this one tribe. But these other tribes could have gotten together and attacked, but it appears God has put kind of a supernatural terror in their hearts. So they didn't do anything. They didn't chase them. They didn't try to attack them or anything. So we already see God's protection of them. Verse 6. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there God had revealed himself to him when he fled from his brother. So he had already been through there once, and he had named it Bethel, changed its name from Luz to Bethel, as I recall. And so he's reaffirming that name, Bethel. Verse 8, Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the oak. It was named Allon Bacuth. So a few sad and tragic things are going to occur as they travel, and this is one of them. Then God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Paddan Aram, and he blessed him. And God said to him, Your name is Jacob. You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. But Israel shall be your name. Thus he called him Israel. Well, he had already done that previously, remember? But he's trying to tell Jacob, look, Israel is your name. Live up to that name. That's the kind of person I want you to be. I guess he blessed him because it appears he's turned back to the Lord yet again. And we're going to see over time that he's referred to in some cases as Israel, in some cases as Jacob. And I think it's because he keeps flip-flopping back and forth. But anyway, God here reiterates that his name is Israel, and he should act like his name Israel. Verse 11, God also said to him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come forth from you. And the land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac I will give to you, and I will give the land to your descendants after you. So he's reiterating this Abrahamic covenant yet again. And I don't know, it just seems to me like he's urging Jacob to trust him, realize that he's made these promises, he's going to protect him. Trust me, not conniving and not wheeling and dealing, but trust me to take care of you. Verse 13, Then God went up from him in the place where he had spoken with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured out a libation on it. He also poured oil on it. So Jacob named the place where God had spoken with him Bethel. Again, he had already named it Bethel when he went through there the first time, but now he's reiterating that. Verse 16. Then they journeyed from Bethel, and when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, Rachel began to give birth, and she suffered severe labor. And it came about when she was in severe labor that the midwife said to her, Do not fear, for now you have another son. And it came about, as her soul was departing, for she died, that she named him Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. Rachel has now passed away. She has died in childbirth. And we see that Jacob, for the first time that I can recall, actually takes a part in naming one of his sons. And he calls his name Benjamin. There's a difference between the two names. I'll read my footnote here, my Ryrie Study Bible. It says, Benjamin means son of the right hand, son of honor or good fortune. So that's what Jacob named him. But the name that Rachel had tried to give him, Ben-Oni, means son of my sorrow and misfortune. So Jacob overruled here. Verse 21, Then Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Eder. And it came about, while Israel was dwelling in that land, that Reuben went in and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard of it. So now he's called Israel. And Reuben goes in and has relations with his concubine. All it says is Israel heard of it. It doesn't say he took any action or anything like that, but we're going to see later that he doesn't forget this. And Reuben is going to suffer some consequences from this. Why he did it, don't know, but some commentators said it may have been since Reuben is the oldest son, that he's trying to exercise some control or authority. You know, he's a way of indicating he wants to take the reins of the clan or something like that. We don't know. All we know that it was wrong. The end of verse 22. Now there were 12 sons of Jacob. Verse 23. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, then Simeon, then Levi and Judah, and Issachar and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. And the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's maid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Paddan Aram. Verse 27. And Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre of Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac also journeyed. So he's back in the area where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned, traveled. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. 180 years. And Isaac breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, an old man of ripe age. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. 180 years old. He lived quite a bit longer than either Jacob or Esau thought, and longer than he thought, because remember he had blessed Jacob thinking he was dying, and of course he lives many years longer than that. The other thing too is that his death, his sons Esau and Jacob buried him, so they were both together and apparently had reconciled at least to a point where they were together at the funeral. So we'll stop here. That's the end of Jacob's travel back into the area where Abraham and Isaac had traveled, and it's back in the area of his family now. Esau is in the area. We're going to see what happens in the next chapter as they're herdsmen and all that. And these herds take a lot of land to be able to thrive and survive. And so they're going to separate yet again, but this time Esau's going to leave. And we'll read about that next time in chapter 36. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you'll watch the next one too. In the meantime, God bless, and we'll see you next time.